We are live.
Oh, you know why? It's probably because it pulls from a standard profile. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
It does make sense, but like when I was just recording it with you and Adrian, I was like, oh, it's just like it's good, standard color. And then like I was like, yeah, like oh, this looks dull blue.
All right, we are going to be talking about making money in real estate today. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
No, horrible. Nobody wants to hear about it.
We won't talk about that then. Let's talk about wasting time in real estate. That's way easier.
Let's talk about AI because that's what everybody wants to hear about, not making money.
That's kind of what my widget is. All right, you ready?
Yep.
I just got a notification that Kyle Whistle's live. I accidentally connected your Facebook and Instagram to my CRM. I thought it was the different Kyle Whissel page, and then started blowing up with your Instagram DMs at Kyle Whissel. Hit him up, and I was like, delete. I was like, I want to get off of this. I deleted the integration, not your DMs.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was tired of it immediately.
How do you have somebody manage your DMs, but like it's really hard to get in your head of how to respond to all these various things.
It's very hard. I've tried it for years, yeah. And there are still times I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Well, then like 90% of them are trying to sell you shit, and
those are easy.
Whether it's a service or a body, they're trying to sell you something.
I love when people send Whissel Realty a DM and say, do you need help with your media? I'm like, fuck off, guy. I got this.
You saw that I responded to the last one, right? It was like, I'm reaching out. Your videos deserve more views. I was like, motherfucker, your videos don't have even 20 views. Don't come at me telling me my videos need more views when you can't even get 20 on one of yours. Fuck you. Yeah,
just sell one more house and it pays for itself. All right, let's kick this off. Oh, I guess I normally do start it, huh? I'm thrown off. Tried. Yeah, whatever. All right, Kyle. One of the things you've been talking a lot about. Nope. Let me try it one more time. Kyle, one of the things you've been talking a lot about recently, both in our team meetings, also on stages, is talking about how to make more money, not only for you, but how do you turn a money-making opportunity into a better experience for your client as well. And so I want to talk a little bit about today about not sending your next flip to an investor and actually you becoming the investor or the flipper yourself.
Yeah, this is a mistake I've seen for many, many years. And I made the same mistake a long time ago. I got in this industry during the short sale and foreclosure crisis back in 08, 09, 2010. And I got so many of these beat up properties. And every time I would just call my favorite investor and be like, here you go. I got another one for you. I got another one for you. And I thought it was the coolest thing because I was double ending these things on the first transaction, then I'd get to relist them and I'd get a relist commission and sometimes even complete. So that was called a trifecta. For those of you that are bet on horses, there's the trifecta, which is you pick horses first, second, and third place. Then there's the superfecta where you get all four. So that's double ending the initial purchase, then relisting it, double ending that a second time. So that's a superfecta.
And you're like, man, I am a boss.
I'm crushing. And even on like a superfecta, I'd make like 20 grand, right? Like, because
that's not bad money.
The banks didn't pay us a lot of money when we list their properties. So they were making a reduced commission there. And then of course the investor's not paying full commission on the relist. So, you're making two partial commissions or reduced commissions, probably a better use of terms. And I thought it was the coolest thing until I realized I made 20 and they made 100.
Yeah, that's where it stings a little more.
Yeah. And so I got to a point, I said, screw this. I'm not going to send these to investors anymore. I'm going to be the investor. So that's what we're going to hit on today.
Very cool.
Cool. Welcome to the Whissel Way podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
I'm Brian Kochi, Director of Marketing here at Whissel Realty Group.
The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer questions that you have for us. So love it. If you have a question, you want it featured on a future episode of the show, go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our private Facebook group and email newsletter where we share a lot of tips and tricks, and get dialed in with our video content creation course called the Media Mayor Mastermind, where we teach everything Brian and I have learned over the last 8+ years of creating content together, all at thewhisselway.com. All right, let's jump in.
Let's go. So how do you're now, instead of sending it to an investor, right? So first I want you to talk about why you don't want to send it to an investor. Talk about the loyalty that you may have to them, but they may not have back to you.
I mean, yeah, the thing that I've learned over the years is that a lot of us realtors think that we have to have money to be an investor, to be a flipper, or to do any of this stuff. And that is completely incorrect. The money is actually the easiest thing to find. The properties or the deals, which is deals is probably a better choice of words. The deals is the hard part to find. I mean, especially depending on the market you're in. We're here in California. Like the amount of money here, you can work at McDonald's and make like $50,000 a year here, like flipping burgers. It's insane.
I wonder if they're hiring. Let me check that out.
Maybe no, In-N-Out, not McDonald's. You got to go to In-N-Out for that. But it's insane, like the amount of money that there is, and then the families that have built wealth and the inheritances, and then even people who've just bought like a condo, right? Like I bought a bunch of condos 4 years ago, or not 2012, 10 years ago, and I bought condos that have like 4x'd in value. I bought these things for like 100 grand, and now they're worth like 400 grand. So there's even people who bought a condo 10 years ago, and now they're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. And those people, they bought a $100,000 condo 10 years ago, like they could have been flipping burgers at McDonald's and bought that condo. And now they got hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. So there's so much money out there. And it's easy to find. And you got to think now, this is a unique market today with what's happened with interest rates. You could actually put your money in the bank and earn 5% today, which is completely abnormal. Prior to all this, nonsense that's going on right now, if you could get like 1% or 2%, that was a really good return. Right now, 5%. So the people that are very safe and secure, sure, they'll put the money in at 5%. But what if they could get 10%? What if they could get 15, 20%? Like there's a ton of people. You call me, and if I could get an easy 20%, like I'm probably interested. So what do I want, 5% or 20? I don't know.
They can't
What
call
do
you.
Want?
They'll have to hit you up on Instagram.
What do you want, Brian? Do you want 5% return on your money or 20? You'll take 20 all day long, especially if it's backed by real estate, which is one of the most stable assets there is. So what I've learned over the years is that we control these deals. If we control the deal, we can find the money. The money's so freaking easy to find. I mean, I literally was in a text thread recently with one text message, raised almost $1 million with a single text in one thread because I presented a deal to people or an opportunity to people that was too good to resist. And people were like, wait, I have my money in the bank at 5% and I can put it with you and get 15%. And I trust you and have confidence with you and you'll guarantee this money. Like I'll do that all day because it's 3 times the return.
Of course, especially with guarantee. Let's go.
It's easy to find the money. So we far too often we sell ourselves short and think like, well, I don't have the money, I can't do this, which is why we call an investor, because we're like, oh, I got to call somebody with money. Like you do, but you don't have to call and give them the deal. Just call and get their money.
So let's talk about finding the deals.
Yeah.
How do you find
them all the time? Like we have this unfair advantage in real estate to where we can effectively, not by FCC regulations, but like we can effectively insider trade. Right? Like an insider trade is having inside information that the public doesn't have. Like, do you have that as a real estate agent? All the freaking time. You have insider information every time you go on a listing appointment. That's insider information that you have. You know that person wants to sell that property and the public doesn't. Therefore, by loose definition, that is an insider trade opportunity that you could then purchase that property privately inside without it ever going public. So you have access to these insider deals all the time. You're just not thinking about it that way. The second limiting belief, right, other than money that people have, that agents have all the time, is that, well, the property's got to go on the market so I can sell it for top dollar. Is that what the seller wants? Like, or is that what you want? And sometimes we put our own egos in front of our client's best interest and think that every client we meet with, their objective is to put the home on the MLS and sell it for the highest price. That's not what everybody wants. Maybe that's what you want because you want to like brag that you got the new record sale in the neighborhood, but is that what your client wants? Maybe, maybe not.
What percent of clients would you say want that? Do a rough guess with your 20 years of experience.
More often than not, they all want the highest price.
True.
But do they want to go on the market is the question.
So in your experience, and this is obviously one man's experience and it's different, but I'm curious, I don't know, is it 90%, 95%, 80%?
If they could all not go on the market and get the highest price, 100% would take that.
Yeah. I mean, I did.
Right.
I didn't go on the market. I sold to Zillow.
Well, and yeah, Zillow, we love your algorithm that you had for at least for a while there.
Yeah, it worked well for
your
me.
algorithm was great. The thing is, every seller would love to get the highest price possible, right?
Of course.
But there's a percentage of sellers, and I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but there's a percentage of sellers that will forego the highest price for the highest level of convenience. And we've talked about CarMax right now. So we've used this analogy before. Like, I had a vehicle to sell recently. I had zero desire to sell it, right? Like, I didn't want to, you got to put it up on Facebook Marketplace and Auto Trader and all these things, right? Like, you put it on all these websites, and then you got to get all these inquiries from random people trying to figure out which ones are real, which ones aren't, and all these people lowballing you. And then it's like somebody wants to see it, and you're like, okay, this is cool. And then they show up to see it, and they're like, can we take it for a drive? And you're like, oh shit, what do we do? Like, do I go with this person, or do I hand them the keys and, hope they come back with the car? Like, that's a really awkward experience. And then, like, heaven forbid they actually want to buy it. Now we got to figure out, how does this money work, and transferring the title, and or are they going to wire me the money? Are they going to give me a cashier's check? But if they give me a cashier's check, what if I put it in and then I think the money's there and then the money's not there, but I already signed the title over it? That's a terrifying experience. So there's a lot of people, CarMax knows that. And CarMax serves a place in the market for people who are willing to sacrifice a little bit of price in exchange for convenience. Well, if that exists in cars, it exists in homes, but we don't think that way. We think that everybody wants the top dollar approach, right? That everybody wants to get maximum dollars out of their transaction. But there's a lot of people who don't want to deal with, first I got to find the realtor. Then I got to spend all this money getting the house ready. I got to clean the house up. Then I got to put it on the market. Everybody in the neighborhood knows my home's for sale. There's a sign in the front yard, and people are going to drive by, and they're going to stand in my yard, and they're going to take pictures, and they're going to grab flyers out of this box. Then my agent says I have to do this open house thing where I got to open the doors and let 100 random strangers come through the house. And then all these people are going to want to come see the house at all hours of the day. And then I got kids, I got dogs. I got to put all this stuff away. I got to clean up. And as soon as I clean up, there's a showing. Then I let my kids back in the house. They tear it apart. Then there's another showing. And then an offer is going to come in. Who knows when the offer is going to come in, and who knows what the price is going to be. And then I got to negotiate with somebody. Then I come to terms with somebody, right? Like, you get it. Not everybody wants that. There's other people, if they could just get their price and be gone, they're happy. They're willing to sacrifice some price in exchange for convenience. But in our head, when we go and we meet with a seller, and the seller's like, well, I don't want to go on the MLS. We're like, but are you stupid? Like, how am I going to get you the highest price if we don't go on the MLS? Like, maybe the highest price isn't what's motivating to them. Maybe convenience is motivating to them. And so first and foremost, just understand your job is to help your client accomplish their goal. If their goal is just, hey, I just want this thing sold. If I can have this thing sold by the end of the month, I'm happy. And you get them whatever that maximum, attainable dollars. We talk about this, total attainable dollars. And you help them get as much as they can out of it while getting out by the end of the month. You did your job. Congratulations. Maybe you didn't have the record high sale price for the neighborhood, but you did your client exactly what they wanted in that situation.
And we've talked about different scenarios where this might come into play. It could be, right, you talked about families with young kids, divorce situations. They might not want to go on the market, hoarder situations, or maybe the home's been beat up. My situation was, I need to get my house sold so I could buy my next house. And so the total dollar, $5,000 wasn't going to do me a much difference. $10,000 wasn't going to do me much difference when this was the one house we wanted. Are there any other scenarios that you've run into that you see this happen more often than maybe an inherited property?
There's inherited properties where they just want it gone. Just give me my money and move on. If I can get this number, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
There's
military
happen. I mean, there's all the D's, right? Death, divorce, disease, disaster, default, diapers, diplomas, deployment. There's all that.
We've added a few more in there.
Yeah,
huh?
well, up to 10 now.
Wow.
Yeah, we've added. It's not 5. I'm pretty sure it's 10 D's.
I wouldn't say I haven't heard a few of those.
Yeah, diamonds. Yeah, there's a lot of them. So then people just have life circumstances that come up too. I mean, there's people where their parent, gets diagnosed with some sort of condition that requires memory care, and that shit's expensive. The only way you're going to pay for it is to sell the house sometimes. So you need to get it sold to get mom or dad into memory care. There's so many situations where people just need a quick sale, and they're okay leaving a little money on the table for that convenience, just like they are when people go to CarMax. And I don't know if you know this, but CarMax is like the #1 used car dealership in the country.
So I want to spend the rest of today on, because you always say this and I don't know the answer. You say money's the easy thing to find.
Mhm.
And you said, oh, I sent a text and I got $1 million. I mean, I don't know how to do that. And you're always like, oh, it's easy to find the deal, you'll get the money. And I'm like, but how? Do I just text randos and be like, can I get $1 million, please?
Well, you know what you're not going to get any more text on is that fucking ERC tax credit. Have you noticed you don't get any of those texts? I was getting like 2 or 3 of those texts every day. They all stopped.
Oh, well,
Is that credit stopped?
Also, my text messages stopped because there's regulations and all sorts of stuff. So there's fun situations. You're probably getting a lot less text messages, which good for most, but my text messages won't send. Anyways, how do you make the money? How do you find the money?
For sure. So the best advice is get involved in all of the real estate networking groups in your area. They call them REIs, real estate investment clubs. There's tons of them in your area. I promise you, if you just type into Google, just go in real estate investment clubs and then the name of your city. I promise you there's already something that exists. In the unlikely event, and go on like meetup.com too. In the unlikely event that you can't find a club. So I would be looking in Google. I would look on Facebook in the group section. I would look on Meetup. Those are probably my first 3 places that I would look.
Maybe Eventbrite.
You could look in Eventbrite. Those are typically going to be somebody hosting that wants to like sell you some shit. You could. I mean, I'm not saying no, but that would be in like my second tier of where I would search. But I would say those would be my 3 primaries: Google, Facebook, Meetup, and just look for investment clubs in your area. And if in the unlikely event one doesn't exist, guess what? You just found a blue ocean and you get to start one. Because everybody wants to be a freaking real estate investor, especially the younger generation right now. I mean, I was investing in currency trading and shit when I was in high school. Like now that's like normal to do.
Were you
trading.
Investing or stealing?
Oh, I was stealing and investing.
Okay.
I did both. I liked money.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. Hopefully.
It's fine.
Whatever.
It's fine. I went to jail. It's all good. I just kept stealing until I got caught and I went to jail. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
It's all good. I don't hide it from it.
And you haven't done that anymore.
I don't hide from it. That's fine. It's my past 20 plus years ago.
Okay, so go to real estate investment or investment clubs. These are clubs where
you network with people. I mean, these are all people that are either investing themselves, have a desire to invest, but you're going to find money in places like that. And if you go to one of those and you just tell people like, hey, I have a deal. I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for somebody to invest with me. I guarantee you, if you go to one of these events, print yourself out a little flyer, say, hey, I've got a property tied up. Like ideally you have the property tied up. And now you're just saying like, hey, I've got this. We're about to tie one up today, for example. We're about to tie up a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house here in La Mesa, $650 purchase price, $150 rehab, $1 million ARV. Net profit on that thing will be north of $100,000. Hey, Brian, I've got this deal tied up. Would you be interested in investing on this one? Let's call it, I'm going to need $250,000. Brian, would you be interested in investing $250K with me? I'll return that $250 plus $50,000 back in about 4 months from now. Would that be something of interest to you?
Yes.
Like that's all you're doing. You're just having that conversation with people. And if you run the numbers on that, if you gave me $250 and I gave you a $50,000 on top of that in 4 months from now, that's a 20% return on a 3-month basis. When you annualize that out, that's an insane return, far better than the 5% they're getting in their bank account. So if you go and you tell your story, I have property tied up, purchase, here's my purchase price, here's my ARV, here's my rehab, here's my ARV, here's my projected
ARV is after rehab
value.
Okay, yep.
After rehab value, yeah. Here's my ARV. I'm looking for an investor to come in. Here's what the investment would be. Here's the projected return. Here's what the annualized, return on investment would be. Is that something you're interested in?
Now, you know how to run all these numbers. You've been doing this for a while. If an agent's listening and they go, I don't know how to figure out ARV. I don't know how to figure out, what the ARV is probably pretty actually easier to figure out than the rehab.
So, yeah.
But you don't know if it's going to cost $50,000 or $100,000 or $20,000.
The rehab.
Yeah. Do you bring in a contractor that you work with?
I think you should. Like we have rough numbers that we use. Now, this is going to vary wildly. Like what it cost in San Diego versus just going up the road to Riverside. It's substantially different pricing. So if I go to Biloxi, Mississippi, it's probably going to be a whole nother world of pricing. So I think the best thing you could do is tie the property up and meet with 3 contractors. You need to learn this because this is going to help you not only in your investment business, but in your just typical real estate business too. So this is one, like, I would not recommend just Googling this shit. I would recommend, like, this is one you need to get, roll up your sleeves, get a little dirty and learn this stuff so you can understand what is it like to meet with a contractor, understand what is the process, what is the cost, what is the timing, what's the payment schedule. Like, you should learn this. So this is one that I wouldn't just like glaze over. I think it's a valuable part of the learning process to go and meet with 3 contractors and get bids. Plus get ideas too. Like when you meet with contractors and you're walking through a fixer, they're going to give you ideas of like, what could be done? Oh, if we took this wall out, we could do this, and here's what I look for to find if it's load bearing. Like, you're walking through with a contractor that can help educate you, you'll learn so much. So I would say that's a very valuable usage of time.
I remember I did that with you once on a flip right down the street from my grandparents' house. And you're like, oh, we want more backyard space. Can you just move this retaining wall back, 3 feet? And he's like, if I move it back 3 feet, it's going to have to be a 6-foot retaining wall. And you're going from a $10,000 wall to like a $100,000 wall because there's permitting, and those numbers are made up, but it was like astronomical, the amount of work. And he goes, and you get 100 more square foot of backyard. And you're like, okay, we'll keep the wall where it is. Let's move on. So cool. So first, finding the money with real estate investment clubs.
Yeah.
What else?
I would start thinking about, like, for me, what I've done is I've tapped into other networks. So figure out what networking groups can you be a part of. So whether that's chambers of commerce or BNI groups or LaTip groups, like these are all networking groups. Things like that. The group that I've had really good luck with is getting into rooms with other wealthy people. So I joined a group called the Entrepreneur Organization. In order to be a member of that, everybody in there has to own a business that does $1 million or more in revenue per year. Then there's like a higher level of that, which is YPO, which I think is like $10 million or more.
What's the higher one? I need to join that one.
Yeah, I'll get you connected. So joining groups like that, where now you're getting in rooms with other entrepreneurs, that's a very valuable place to be. Getting involved in, anything like that, your alumni associations, like if you went to college, getting involved there. And then just, professional networks, getting into groups where who else makes a lot of money, attorneys, doctors, stuff like that. Getting into networks with those people. And then just asking, putting it out there on social media, like, hey, I've got a deal. Who do you know who's looking to invest in this market? Who do you know who's looking to make 20% return over the next 4 months? Like, even if somebody isn't themselves, they might know somebody who is.
Now, we haven't talked about friends and family.
Yeah.
Do you recommend doing this, or do you recommend, I've heard people say avoid working with friends and family. This is not a guaranteed thing. There is risk involved. Do you recommend doing this or no?
Tread lightly. I wouldn't say yes. I wouldn't say no. You know your family. I would not get into it with family if you're taking like every dollar they have and putting them like at risk. I would not fuck with it.
Okay.
With family. If you have family that is very wealthy and has money, like 250 grand to kick around, by all means, and they'd probably love to support you and help you grow. But I would not be, trying to get money out of people that barely have it or don't have it at all. Like, I would not put those people in that position. But friends and family it's a common place to go, but I would tread lightly and make sure I'm doing it with people that really understand what they're doing, that do, put money into a variety of investments, that are comfortable taking some risks. I don't want to be somebody's first risk.
And then finally, would you pull money out of your house and do like a HELOC absolutely. Or refi?
Yeah. People do this all the time where they brag that they like paid their house off. Or I had a friend today, God bless him. He hit me up. He's like, hey, is it true that I can make like a lump sum payment to the bank and then they'll adjust my mortgage payments lower? It's like, motherfucker, if you are sitting on a stack of cash, the last thing you should do is put it on your house, which all you're going to do is like decrease where you have a 3% interest rate. Like, you're basically getting to borrow that money and really paying 3%. Like, take that and go invest it. Like, if you're sitting on a bag of cash right now, like, that's the perfect person. You better believe I'm hitting him up and I'm going to help him understand some of these investment opportunities. The worst thing you do, like, you shouldn't be bragging. And now, look, you might be like a Dave Ramsey person. Cool. There's, you do you. I'm not going to go there.
I kind of want you to go
it's
there.
just a different philosophy.
Dave Ramsey resonates with me a little bit more than I think he does.
Well,
you.
Mr. Safe and Conservative, you love it. But Dave, there's some things I agree with Dave, but being debt free on your home, I think is silly. Being debt free and other things, I agree with. But yeah, you should take that money. Like if you're sitting on a ton of equity in your home, or you just got a bag of cash in the bank, like go invest that. Worst case, put it into something that's earning you 5%. Like if you're paying the bank 3% interest, and you could earn 5% interest in a high yield savings account, like put it in there and you're arbitraging 2%. Like at least do that at a bare minimum. But ideally, you're taking that bag of cash and you're investing it. But I'm all for pulling equity out of your house. Like even today, people are like, oh, the equity line of credit's like 10%. Okay. But if you can make 20% with that money, that's worth it. So yeah,
cool.
I'm for it.
This is good.
Yeah.
I got what I needed.
Yeah. Just don't be scared of investing. And then here's the thing too, like we talk about insider knowledge, like you know what the ARV is. Okay. If you don't know what ARV is, you know what ARV is. You just haven't heard that term before. What is the property going to be worth fully rehabbed? You've sold fully rehabbed houses in the neighborhood. You know what people are willing to pay. And you've shown houses in the neighborhood. You know the features the buyers are looking for. You're not guessing. Most investors aren't walking buyers through the home. You are. Like you're walking the buyer through the home and you're seeing the reaction when you point out the textured wall, right? With the lights behind it. And you see the buyer's reaction like, oh, that's so cool. And you realize like, this wall's not very expensive. Maybe I should put a wall like that in. Like, you know what the buyers are looking for. The investors are guessing. You have so much insider info that you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Yeah, and it's really easy to. Says the guy who hasn't done it. But if you went to a listing appointment, you've already
some bags in the bank, Brian. Give me some bags. Let's go.
If you go to a listing appointment, I don't know what that means. If you go to a listing appointment, you have already run the comps. You already say, I know what this home will sell for, comparing it to the other homes around the similar size square foot, similar condition, similar bedrooms and bathrooms. I know it'll sell between, $6 and $650. Well, do that same thing, but and compare it to the same group of homes, but instead of the condition being, last updated in the 80s, last updated this year, compare that and you go, oh, very easily you can say, okay, instead of 650, it's going to be, 850 to 900. There's your ARV. Yep. And as long as, if it's from 600 to 900, as long as your rehab cost isn't 300 grand, there's money to be had there. That was good. You keep saying money's easy to find. I'm like, but I don't know where to find it. So now I have a better understanding. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Now I'm going to find some money and then find some deals. And
give me those bags, Brian.
I don't know what that means.
All right, cool, guys. Well, hopefully you got some value out of that. If you did, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed it. If you have a question, throw it in the comments section. Brian and I personally respond to all of those. And if you want more of our content, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell. YouTube will do the rest. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to give us a subscribe. And if you have a couple minutes, could write a review about your takeaways from today's pod. That would be very much appreciated. Before we wrap, one of the things we like to do is share something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or just helps us have a little bit more fun. What do you got, Brian?
This one is not my favorite. It's not the most unique.
Here we go.
We've all been talking about AI. We've all been talking about ChatGPT for all this year. One of the things that I realized fairly recently is you can actually have the ChatGPT app on your phone rather than going to the web browser. On your computer, there are times where I want to respond to an email really quickly. You can just copy and paste it, respond to this email. So ChatGPT, the iPhone app, not my favorite widget.
That's fine.
Fine.
Yeah, just take an easy one. That's fine.
I use
take
it.
The layup. No, it's fine.
I've been using it lately, so that's it.
Take the layup. All right, I'll do one that's tied into what we're talking about today. If you're looking for something to help you calculate return on investment for a fix and flip, for example, you obviously would love to have a place to go. So Bigger Pockets, they have, if you go to biggerpockets.com, they have a tools section. And inside that tool section, they actually have a fix and flip calculator in there for you. So you can go in there, you can run some numbers, you can play around with it, you can put reports together, and really educate yourself on like how to actually analyze properties. There's also a ton of other ones in there about wholesaling and burring and a lot of other really cool calculators. We don't burr in San Diego, Brian. The numbers don't work here, but in other parts of the country, we burr. We could do a whole separate episode on that. So check it out, biggerpockets.com, and go to that tool section. And then there's a fix and flip calculator there that you can play with.
Ballsy, promoting a alternate podcast. That's good. Good on you.
I didn't promote the podcast. I promoted their calculator.
Okay, sure thing.
I never even mentioned anybody else's podcast.
Okay. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Whissel Beer Podcast.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty.
I'm Brian Kochi.
We'll see you next week.
Later.